North, broadcasting live from the north, from the 715, from the north.
Hey guys, what's up? I'm gonna do one final little installment here as far as the templates go. So I showed how to build both a multi-track and if you're mixing instrumentals with vocals, so like a 2-track stereo, how to build templates for those from scratch, just adding in your aux buses and a master fader, routing some for effects and some for your subgroups. So this one, I'm gonna show it the other way, like deconstructing a customer's track to give you a template. And you know, you can make a main one, and then like what I'll do for like this is the artist here, Satchmo Jones. He's also a producer, so if you're looking for instrumentals, I'll put a link here at the bottom. He had a pretty cool tape called Sophisticated Crunk, and it's one of the most recent ones that I've worked on where I mixed all the drums too, because a lot of my work is to 2 tracks, but I certainly enjoy mixing out the full track outs too. So we can just get a look here a little bit. I won't try to spend too much time looking at the routing of it, but just so you can kind of understand what's going on. If you're new to this, I want to really simplify it, because sometimes when you get in the swing of things and you're doing it, you just assume like, well, of course this one is routed here. But I'm making these tutorials to help people who don't understand it as much, and I would watch tutorials sometimes before I went to school for it, and some of the lingo they'd use was just not something I'd heard before, so they would just go over my head because I didn't have the basic knowledge. So I'm just gonna try to really break it down so you can understand the routing of it. And I did this for a 2-track mix, but there's a lot less to it. I mean, it's essentially the same, but again, if you're wondering how to do this, then I want to really break it down so you understand all the routing, and this saves you a lot of time. And also, like for this one, I'll use this template for anybody who has a track out, but if I get another person who's sending me a 10 or 12 song project where I'm mixing the instrumentals too, after I mix the first one for them, of course instrumentation from project to project, even with the same artist, is going to be different, but just to give you a baseline, maybe for what direction they're heading in. Like this one here was kind of a cool project because he was trying to kind of bridge some early 90s, like for reference tracks, I'd get some early 90s hip-hop, and then also get like some pretty trippy rock stuff as far as like vocal effects and just the spatial thing. So it was kind of a challenge for me, and I think it turned out very well. It's a really unique project, and I certainly respect that in his style. So we'll just look at one of them here. If you want to see me do some mixing on some of these songs, I'm going to do a VMR review where I'm going to go show what settings I used for what instrumentation. But as far as this goes, now this was a mix of it before, like a reference track that he had bounced out of his DAW, and then I just got stems, brought them all in, routed them. So if you're getting a project from a person who's going to do another 10, then use the template you have to bring in their stems. Once you customize it a little bit, do a save as, so you don't ruin the session, and take out the stuff like I'm going to do here for them, and then name that the customer's name, multi-track session. So then everyone you use, you'll be able to, or every customer you deal with, then you'll have a baseline. You're ready to go. You don't have to spend 15-20 minutes. And that's what this is about, is every time going in and doing the color coding and labeling. That's time that can be spent mixing. So all the subgroups are laid out. We're basically gonna deal with the beat right now, but I'll just show you here to set up your whole template, this here is the hook, is what we just highlighted. So we're going to save the subgroup, but what we're going to do, and again, make sure you save the session as, because if the customer ever calls back and needs you to go back in it, especially if it's a recent project, you don't want to delete their automation. But I'm not going to want delays here on every customer's track from here until the end of time, so you have to delete that stuff. Then the hook can hide and go inactive, or I mean, you can delete it if that's what makes you happy. First verse, inactive, hide. And again, here we got a bunch of delays. We're not going to want those on every customer's track right there. That's going to be, a per track basis. You probably hear my dog yawning in the background. Maybe she'll make her YouTube debut here. So here's some more delays in the hook. Gotta go. So this one, he's talking. We don't have to delete that, but hide my make inactive. So this was an alternate hook sub I was playing with, so I'm gonna just keep that too. Why not? Alright, and then those ones all go to all Vox here. So another thing you can look at is, again, we're looking from here to here. These ones are for the individual parts, right? 7, 8, 1, 2, and here's the thing is, made this one custom, so sub or hook alt. We'll name that one. Hook sub, we got verse 2, verse 1. So we're not going to want any delays on it unless it's the interesting. Oh, this is probably it. The ad-lib sub that I usually use. I was going to say some of them I do leave a delay on, but that's part of this. So these are the extra subs that I had used. Like this was a bass growl from one of Satchmo's earlier songs. That was really cool. I'm like, well, if that happens again, I have a bass line. Well, I shouldn't use that terminology. I have a benchmark for his bass line. So I can kind of start and make it sound similar. So that's, effects 2, that's going to be for the instrument here. This vocal sub duplicate, so that's maybe I was doing some A/B in, probably with, one of these compressors or EQs or something. So we'll go through, make sure, okay, no delays on any of these. We're going to leave the delay on the ad-lib sub. So I'll make that active because that's something I'm going to typically have. So that one we're going to leave alone right now. But all these ones go. And then you'll see, I mean, even here, me making these little changes and saving another one, I was like, this was something I planned to do anyways, just to have a new updated template, because I've got some new plugins since the last time I made one from a customer's track. So now 910 would be ad-lib sub. Alright, so we got those ones. The audio is out as far as vocals are concerned. So now same here. Just hold command, you can highlight them all. So a couple snares. Hat, closed hat, another one, so that all these ones are going to my other percussion bus right now. So you can hear there's quite a bit going on here. Oops. Missed. Pro Tools is not loving me today. So that's, just to show you all the other percussion that's in here. So, go through and do some panning and spread them out a little bit. And some of them you can already tell that are in studio or stereo tracks. This one is already being panned left a little. So even if I leave that alone, and then this one you can tell is panned right and left. So you just get, got to be mindful of that as you bring them in. So if you leave them at 0, they're already panned a little, and kind of listen to where it's at. From now, a lot of times it'll be, if it's zeroed out, then, you start from nothing, but you can already see the direction he was kind of in with these symbols. So I just, kept that, spread those out here. But all the audio has got to go for our task at hand. So bass, kick, snares, all the other percussion. So now we got these subgroups. So, the bass, the snare, and the other percussion all go to the drum sub. So muting that will mute all 3 of those. Or if you want to hear just one of them, then you're going to have to unsolo isolate those and make sure that one's solo isolated when you want to go through. But all 3 of those lead into this one. So now we got some synths going into our all music, and we can just, take a look at that quick. So pretty mellow, chill track. But anything that's this color blue, there's all our effects. So then, the again, just so you can all process it here. These 3 go into this one, and then all drums and all of the effects or instruments in that one then go into this one. Okay, and then we got effects 2 sub. So that one also goes into the beat sub if there's like 2 very different kinds of instrumentation in it, or, I just put effects sub and effects 2 sub, but it could be like strings and horns, or however. This is, like I said, there's a bass growl in another song that was really cool, so I saved the plugins on it, just kept it inactive. It's not eating any CPU. Something like that comes in again, and I want to know, where I was at on the other one, then done deal. So once we kind of narrow it down, and we're not going to want that in there either. So if you're really making the template, then it's probably best to just delete everything. But for our purposes, I will just leave it. So now we have all of that one is an audio track. If you want to go through and hide everything, then these are the laybacks of the beat and the vocals. Again, delete. Because then another thing you could do is basically highlight everything that is still here. Well, let's highlight everything. Then everything that's hidden, Command will unhighlight it. You can hear my dog yawning again. She has a rough life. She harumphed. Alright, so now everything that's highlighted, I'm going to move up. Maybe I'll have to have one of these there. So now I put them all up there. Where is that one? So then these, everything here, you could just right click and hit delete. All right, so now we basically, we got our subgroups. This is for all our effects. So then once you get all these, like all your effects go to this one. So then, you can, if you don't want to hear them or you want to hear them, there you go. Submaster includes all effects, all Vox, beat subgroup new. All right, and that one contains effects. This one, should it come in, the bass growl and drum sub. The drum sub this one contains these three: bass sub, snare sub, other percussion. So you can just kind of see the layers of it, that one too. This is effects 2. Just, you don't want to get everything right. Then when you're going to use this, everything's labeled. So we don't have any other stragglers that I neglected before. So now, when I bring this in for a new one, it'll be, let's see, save as template, right? We go into, this is my folder that I made for mine. So I'll say decon for deconstructed multitrack. So I know I can either pick the one I built from scratch or the newest one here. So this one's got my fader with most of my master processing. All the effects that go to this one. Everything for instruments. So now I've saved the template. I'll save this and close it. And now I'll just show you how to open it up. So basically we'll go to our Pro Tools menu, new session. All right, I have some instrumentals in 1644.1. So decon multitrack, we're going to use this. Create session from template, otherwise blank session, you're just getting no subgroups. This one I'm going to do a new folder for. Sessions. I didn't spell all AL, it's an abbreviation for what they are. We'll call it, I forgot what the name track was. Levels is the one we're going to do. All right. So we'll call it that. See what time we're working with there. All right. So I'll just show you how to bring the stems in quick and route it, and then we'll be good to go. So I'll just start up at the beginning, and then we'll drag them down. So import. And another thing I just like to do, and it should copy them all from source, but so you don't run into the, cannot find audio file. I hide Pro Tools. Okay, we're going to get that out of the way. I'll go to where we're at now. Levels. All right, so then I'll take this folder and just drop it in. Then I'm grabbing them from this main folder, not somewhere else. So in case this file gets moved or put in another folder, then it's going to change how it looks in the directory. It could cause issues. So I've just been on the other side of it too many times. What's the difference, Alright, so there's the stems. So now, when we're in Pro Tools, we're going to find them through that folder we just put them in. Import audio. Levels 130. So then click the top one, go down, shift, click the bottom one. Add all. new tracks. So this is an Almari beat, so feel free to give him a check out, but don't snag all the sweet beats, so there's none left for me. Alright, so master, so this is what we're going to use for our reference track. I'll usually just color code that one bright red, so I know it's what you want to look out for. Another thing I usually do here is either put it at the top or bottom, so we can put it up there just so we can listen to, you know, our mix as we go. So that obviously it's at 808, but just to show you, so we got a piano, chant, hat, so hat's gonna go a little towards the top above piano. Here's another hat, we'll keep those together. Claps, I'm gonna put up there. Snare goes next to the clap. So another kick. So those will go with the piano here. Snare. And these look like cymbals to me. Put those in by the hats. So now we can just, you know, put everything in order and reverse it, and then, alright, so we got these three looked like snares to me. Other percussion and drum sub we're going to use to separate the rest. I don't remember if these ones above mini grand were. Yep, those were our other cymbals. Okay, so then we got our effects sub, and you know, if there's a lot of difference in here, then we can split some stuff up. But for the time being, just to look at the drums and whatnot. So these two, we got yeah, Pro Tools is giving me a tough time with all this screen capture stuff plus Pro Tools. But obviously we got two kicks there, a kick and 808, so then goes to our bass sub. And then these ones don't need an input. I just, you know, it's not going to hurt them if you don't do that. I just prefer it. So then we're going to look for a snare clap sub. Because every one of the, you know, the routing changes that we did in the first one are going to show up in this menu B now, already labeled nicely, instead of just being, you know, random numbers here. So then we're going to look for other percussion. Oh, I was looking for other perk. And then those are already routed. So, I mean, just in that amount of time, you already got a good little chain here going here. So then select all the instruments, those no input, because we're not going to be recording to those tracks. Effects 1 sub. So we already have our two main groups, you know. So then, you know, the blend of your snares. So then, I mean, you know, what you do there is you can mute those and the other percussion. Just trying to solo isolate it so it go through it. Okay. So looks like this is a fill. This is the main one, and then this comes in to accentuate them. So, you know, just a little. But this one goes by itself more often than those. So when those do come in on there, you know, I'll see. Basically, I'll probably bring that one down and even, you know, they look to be unpanned. Oh, yep. They all look to be about the same size, so that's open to your, you know, creative control. But, you know, obviously those ones are coming in by themselves too, so you don't want to bury them. And if it comes to it, you know, you could just turn down. Well, this one, it looks like every time this one hits, one of those do. Where this one, it's a little less. So you could just look at like that one there, you know, bring that one down if that needs to be the case. So, yep, that's how, you know, you bring them in. Then you also have your reference. So when you get to mixing a little bit, then see, you know, where you're at from where the producer was at with it. Make sure you're going to the same spot, or, you know, if you want to. And then when you have a multitrack, then you have the option to, you know, do little cuts or little stutters and whatnot. So maybe I'll do a little more in-depth tutorial of mixing here. That's just the basics of creating a template from a track you already had, and then creating, you know, or bringing stems into it and getting it set up. So again, thanks to Satchmo Jones. Look for a link in the info here, and you can get a link to his SoundCloud. All right, thanks guys.